Hello and welcome to A Balanced Life Leads to a Thriving Practice. Does that seem right? Yes, it is. It might be turned on its head for you as I read that. Most people think, oh, when I have a thriving practice, then I'll have a balanced life. So stay tuned. We're going to unpack this today. We're going to talk about the four things that will lead to you having a balanced life and a thriving practice by imagine increasing your profitability like way, 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 way up. Yes, like doubling it. Yes, that's possible and not unheard of. Imagine having to be able to have time off, like real time off, not like you're on a baseball field worrying about your practice, right? Or when you're at your practice, you're saying, "Man, I wish I was on the beach," or being at one of my daughter's dance recital. It's really being present wherever you are because you have everything handled and you have boundaries in place, right? And then having a self-managed team, and this is a key ingredient to the whole game, because if your team's not on board and they don't know what to do and how to do it, well, the game doesn't, is very difficult to be won with you not there, right? And then really working on the practice is really difficult because if you're spending all this time chair side and desk side when you should be poolside. I just made that up. I'm going to go with that. That's pretty cool. Then, it doesn't work. So we're really going to unpack this. I'm grateful for the Dental Intel team for allowing me the privilege and our partnership over the past 6 years. Cannot imagine living without my dental intelligence for all of our practices. And it's just such a great tool and a great company. I'm so grateful for Weston and Curtis and Clay and all the people that lead the Dental Intel team. So let's just take a look at this. I love this visual. When you're young, you got, I always think about time, money, and energy. And when you're younger, it's often that you have time and energy, but you don't have any money. And then you get, become an adult. And I have so many great stories about people, living in double wides while they're going to dental school and like struggling and then, get their craft and then they get all, doing well and really busy and, they just start running on the treadmill of the drill fill and PPO mill. And then all of a sudden it's like, I have no time. I have more money than I did before. I wish I had more. And then, I still have good amounts of energy, but you want to see where you stand inside of these things. And then when you get older, it's like, okay, now I have time and I have money, but my energy is really down. So just identify yourself wherever you are starting from. And, some of you outliers, you have all three, and I get it. I was doing that too until I told the truth. I was just like burning the candle at both ends, had a lot of energy. It was really fear-based energy of not enough. And some people are sitting there like, oh, like procrastinators, and it's hard to get the fire, to go. And that's where they're at. And it's okay. Wherever you're starting from today is completely fine. It's just good to know where you're starting from, but it doesn't have to be that way. See, when you make the unacceptable unacceptable, that's when change happens. If you're sitting there and just accepted the unacceptable, then you're going to just kind of float down the river based upon the circumstances you have. And I'm saying, no, I'm saying, no, you can have a balanced life that leads to a thriving practice. See, that's putting the oxygen mask on yourself first. See, most practitioners that I find are living in a defaulted lifestyle. This is how they think it should be. And it's not in a designed lifestyle. We're going to flip the script and design your lifestyle. You're going to have a balanced life. And I like saying an integrated life instead of balance because it's like, is it work or play? It's work and play. And when they work together, now all of a sudden you have a life that you love. It's abundant and it allows you to fulfill in your purpose, take care of your family, your team, and your patients. And that's really the goal here, right? So it's good to connect with people where they're connected to. And some of you might not have been connected to this conversation, and I helped you get there. The same is true for you, just like I did with you. The reason why you have team members that are disengaged or patients that are disengaged, because maybe you're putting your agenda on them versus starting with where they're starting from, having them see something, and now they're going to come to you in a new way. They're going to listen in a new way. And that's what I hope you just did. I hope you're going to be listening in a new way because this really not only is a practice changer, it's a life changer. It really, really is, because that's really our product. Our product is and enhance quality of life, not consulting, coaching, or training. That's what we happen to do, but it's not really that. And one of the things I want to introduce my family to you, that's my squad. That's my son, Rome, my wife, Judith. I've learned that I can't give something away that I don't have for myself. So when I didn't have money, I didn't know how to make it and I couldn't give it to you. When I didn't have, the time, I couldn't do that. I couldn't give it away to you because I couldn't see it and experience for myself and then design our systems and processes and our education to give it to you in a way that you can understand it and get it, right? And then, now it's like, how do I conserve energy at 57? So, I started in this business when I was 32 and now we're, at 57, do the math. It's pretty awesome. But it's been over 2 decades. It's been 6,000 practices, hands-on, and then tens of thousands in seminars. And then um, lastly, it's 1 billion in collections at least that I can quantify. And the key thing here is the time to enjoy it. The key to all these four is the time to enjoy it. So, it's really important that that when you work with somebody, and I recommend working with somebody, work with somebody that has aligned values to you, so that I love Dental Intel and they do a great job at really pulling the numbers and putting it into real time. But for me, it's like giving a fat guy like me a scale. You can give me a scale. I know my numbers, but if I don't make changes, that's what we're here to talk about tonight. And that's why I'm grateful for my partnership with Dental Intel, is to really put the actions and the strategies on what those numbers say. And we're going to do that today in a new way. As I mentioned, those are our benchmarks, and really I'm the guide and you're the hero. I shared that personal story with you, not to boast, but to really just say I've been able to do it myself and I know it works, and I've been able to help thousands of other practitioners, and now this is your opportunity to do it. And that's really where I was coming from, like, so that you're walking with a guide down a path that has done it before. And what you can be looking for and listening to is your profitability 25 to 100%. Please know, a lot of people are blaming the pandemic and extending, thinking they have to retire. Like last year was a lost year. Please, I invite you not to look at it that way. Whatever we dealt with there, we dealt with. And we have people breaking records, and you can break records too. It doesn't, and you don't have to work harder. It's really about working smarter and mobilizing the assets that you have in your practice. Vacation time, 2 to 10 weeks more a year. Reduce days per week if that's what you want to do. Go from 5 to 4, 4 to 3 if that's what you want to do. Another key place for time and a balanced life is working on your business. 1 hour a week. I want that to be your benchmark. 1 hour a week, please. It's not 8 hours. It's not a day off on Friday. If you're working those hours, what that tells me is the business model you're deploying and the team that you have in place doesn't allow you to have that. Please, I want you to have that be your expectation, because once the teams know what to do and how to do it, they want to give it to you, but they just never been shown. And if you're basing it upon the business models that have typically been deployed, in your practice, or what or what you read about, then you're going to when you do the same thing, you're going to get the same result. And we're going to interrupt that today. So there's going to be 4 things. The learning objectives today include 4 things: identifying your outcomes or your goals. And we're going to talk about why that fails. There's 5 reasons why that fails. And this is the most liberating thing. Oh yeah, I have goals. Yeah, this, more money, more time, more stress. That's just, you can't land a plane on that runway. So we're going to get you really clear on that today. And then really understanding how to run a practice, what it should look like, what the chassis. I love cars. So like, what is the chassis? Is it a Punto? When we go to Italy, you saw that picture in the sunflowers. We love the little Puntos, little Italian guy in his Punto, all dirty. Or is it a Ferrari? In Modena, when we go to Modena and where they build them, it's like Ferrari chassis. Like, what kind of chassis do you want? You want an SUV? You want one of those Bentley SUVs? Or maybe you're just, you're cool with a Tesla chassis. Whatever the chassis is, it needs to serve you in the way you want to roll. Like, do you want to see a lot of patients? Do you want to see a few patients? Do you want to see, highly profitable patients? Are you, all that chassis drives how it works. And look, here I have a lot of compassion. Why? Because I know you went to dental school and they didn't teach you how to be a business person and then to transform this and implement, because 99% of dentists are poor at implementing, because you have to be a master at that. You have to be a master at two things: business and implementation. Forget about it. Don't waste your time on that. Find somebody that's a rock star at it, that guarantees results, that guarantees that happens. It's aligned with your values, and then just go work with them. That's really key. You want to make sure your team's strengthened. This is key, because without a team, there's no way that you're going to have a balanced life, because you're going to be the octopus. I call you the octopus, 8 arms, and you're like chair side and listening to how somebody's answering the phone, telling somebody that they should, be filling the schedule, going over script to reactivate patients. My favorite one is you're telling people that the toilet paper is out. You're putting toilet paper on. My other favorite one is you're running to Costco, getting bottles of water for your refrigerator that's in the reception area. No, I know that that's the default. We want to just start doing things, but it's time to graduate, especially post pandemic, because our window's closing. It's going to get busy again, and then it's just going to be more difficult to make changes. Right now is the best time to make changes. Yes, for sure. And then making a plan and just sticking to the plan, and then knowing how to adjust if not. Everybody's bumped into something in dentistry. I call these the dirty dozen. During the pandemic, I wrote a book called Bounce Back from Anything. Identified the 12 issues. You can see it. And 12 issues, exist. Like, I already have it all handled. I know what I know. Like, knowing actually stops when you know everything and you're an intellect. When you intellectualize and rationalize, those two words end in lies. So, you know, it's not all up here. Some of the work needs to be done down here as a purpose. So there's missing elements. And when you get to those, it's awesome. And it really opens up a balanced life. You can look at all these and it goes all the way to the right, which we've all experienced, which is, the pandemic. And these are, walking through crisis is really what to do. And that's just the gift, because here's the deal. This is underneath every crisis. 95% of the things that dental teams face, they've already faced them and they continue to face them. If you could stop and interrupt these 7 things, from new patients to case acceptance to filling the hygiene schedule to the frustration about insurance and all those things, imagine getting that flattened out and clear and systematized and all organized, and accepting what you can and changing what you can't. Now all of a sudden you're in a new world, right? So this is the real why all of this matters. So if you're young, a lot of my young guys and gals, they want to do 3-4 years chair side, and then they want to build up 3 or 4 practices. Some just want one, and that's cool too. Some guys and gals in their 40s are like, I need more time, because all right, now I'm making some money, I'm building another practice, but it's like, how do I, I have twin boys at home that are in baseball, and I can't make it to their team. And then, they're going to end up, because they don't have their retirement set up, and they're not putting money away for the future. And it's like all today. And, it's hard to land a plane. And the reason is because you're creating from today out, rather than saying, here's where I need to end up. I need to have $5 million in assets by, 2030. And in order to do that, it gives you what you need to do today. That's why most people don't, they go into analysis paralysis, or they go into, oh, it's fine right now, it'll work out someday. But then they end up in these places, which is, these are facts. 96% of dentists can't retire at 65. We moved from 62 to 69, 7 years in a matter of 20 years. And, income is flat. It does not have to be this way. And I don't care if you're bumping up against these numbers right now. You can change your life. You just have to choose it. You have to sit there and go, you know what? All right, I got to get out of the stands, and I got to get on the court, and I got to start playing a new game. And it doesn't mean that it's going to upset the whole apple cart. It just means that you have to put some things in place that will get you there. And it works every time when you work it. So the first thing I want to do is I want to take you, and I want you to look at the capacity of your practice. The first number we need to look at, and this one isn't in Dental Intel. So I'm going to take you to my site. This is the only one that's not in Dental in DI. The others are. I'm going to show you the other stuff in a DI. So I'm going to share my screen. And if you go to nextlevelpractice.com, and right on the home page here, it'll say take the revenue potential quiz. All right. So what I want you to do is go right here. It takes 1 minute. So how many locations do you have? Let's just say you have one. How many associates do you have? You're a solo practitioner. How many chairs do you have? Let's just say you have 3. How many years in practice? Let's say 10. And then let's just say you normally do, let's say 750. And let's say you have 2,000 patients, just a general patient's record. We're doing 18 months, not 12 because of the interruption. And then you just put your name in. Boom, boom. And then, and by the way, you can email me at any time. That's my personal email, Gary@nextlevelpractice.com. And then boom, you submit, and then you get a report immediately. Our calculations in practice is doing 3 million, right? And so you're currently operating at 25% capacity. And so, by the way, it really is eye-opening because most doctors think they have to go outside their practice. They're working on their websites and social media and all this stuff. And it's an inefficient model because there's 3 ways to build a practice. I call it my care system. Care is case acceptance, retention, and the experience of new patients, right? Most people have and I was working with Weston on this, the average adult comes back less than 25% of the time, twice. We see them coming back once, but they don't come back twice. And then the average adult will invest in treatment. I got this from my man Lou Graham, 28% case acceptance. So when you think about it, if you look at the inefficient business model, and this is where you're going to be able to go from high volume to slow down. This is where you're going to be able to get off insurance, lower paying insurance. This is where you're going to be able to take more time off. Going inside your practice, paradigm shift, inside your practice first, plugging the hole of retention, and then plugging the hole of poor case acceptance, then you drop new patients in. There's that quadrant in Dental Intel that says new patient net amount. That's where you have new patients that are reactivated, and then lost patients. Most people are not looking at that equation. And then what happens is they think they have plenty of new patients, they're retaining them, and their cases are sold, but it's not the case. And so it really opens up, if you get what I just said, it opens up this whole possibility for that. And I'm going to show you in the Dental Intel quadrants where you'll see all this. So take that quiz. It's really an eye opener for a lot of practitioners. So now you got to look at what business you're in. So most people, like, I'm a dentist, right? Well, what business are you really in? Well, you're a marketer, you're equipment manager. If you do facilities, you're dealing with human resources, you're a manager, you're a leader. This is why 85% of our community members, and we're in 44 states and 3 provinces of Canada, 85% are spouses, because they actually have to come together, because one is a left brainer, one is a right brainer usually. And together they make one solid team of people coming together. But it's like they don't always know how to work well together. And then it collapses on your life. And then you bring work home with you and you never can get away from the practice. Make that unacceptable. Or you're at Leslie's, softball game or dance recital, and you're talking about business in the stands. Do not do that. You're missing out on your being present wherever you are. This is more of like a survival mechanism, and it's okay, because it works till it doesn't. Because when you want to expand and you really need to get to that 5 million as your retirement, if you don't change now while you're in your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, or for some of you in your 60s, you can still do it, but you can't do it with the same approach. That's what I'm inviting you to look at. And you have to be all these things: quality assurance specialist, and then you finally get to be a dentist. What I'm here to say to you today is, if you're a spouse, you don't have to be in the practice. And if you're a dentist, you don't have to do all these other things. I've created a program that does 3 things. Stop doing things you're not good at. Stop doing things you don't like doing. And then remove the toxicity or the upsets around what you're doing. And so here's the 4 steps. We're going to plunk right in. We're going to dive into the deep end and get it done. Let's define your goals. So let's just take a self-assessment. If you're a high performance practice, you're working the exact numbers of hours, chair side and business side, that you choose to. So that means that you're sitting here and you're going, if it's a 5, you're going, dude, I really shouldn't even be on this webinar. Like, I'm just doing it for shiggles. That's 2 words brought together. And then, if I'm not close, if you're not close, you want to be listening up, right? I'm making the amount of money I deserve. 5 is like, Gary, you're putting me to sleep because I already do everything. And if you're one of those that say, I do everything that you've said so far, um, please, that's your brain kicking in, trying to kill off learning something new, because your brain doesn't want you to learn something new because you'll make a mistake or fail. That's what happens in the psyche when new things come across your viewfinder. Not everybody, again, but just, I'm challenging every area that I found talking to doctors over the last 20 some years where they get stuck, and then it kills off the possibility of having their life turn out. And then I have all the energy I want for work, family, and fun. So it's time, energy, and money. So take a look. It's good to self-assess and tell the truth. If you can't tell the truth, it doesn't work. By the way, a little background about myself. I'm 13 years sober coming up this year, and I was not telling the truth about my drinking problem. My wife brought it to me. She's like, look, you don't have to quit drinking, Party Fresh. That's my nickname, but you can't stay here. My son was diagnosed with autism at 2.5. And I was drinking. I was drowning out. And I find a lot of people numb themselves out, and they're not in reality, just trying to get through life, especially post-pandemic. It's been really tough on people. We give to suicide prevention. We have a charity because there's a lot of people that are highly depressed. And I was depressed, and I was trying to numb myself out with alcohol. Some people do it with different things: gambling, porn, you name it, being on Facebook or video games or whatever it is. I really believe that when you break and interrupt and get woke, now all of a sudden you can go to work and get things done. And so, I really, if you're grappling with challenge, you're not alone, and get help. It's okay. In 2021, it's okay to raise your hand and say, I need help. It's completely fine. Someone said, Gary, speak to the suffering in each of us. And the suffering comes from, you have a problem, and then you resist the problem, and that equals suffering. So problem plus resistance equals suffering. The minute you surrender to win, the minute you raise your hand and say, I need help, that's when everything changes. And so it's important to really acknowledge that. It wasn't until I acknowledged that I was an alcoholic that I can then own my problem and take the actions. And then I just followed somebody that had success doing it. And, now I help other men and women get sober. So I want to introduce to you a person, because I think it's really important story. Donna Williams is from Harlem, New York. She came to me. She was, traditional dentist, talented, good hands. And she had these beliefs. She came to me. She's like, Gary, I tried everything. She sat in a seminar, just like you right now. I tried everything. Nothing's worked. I can't get good team members. And this was a few years ago. Imagine now. And this won't work in my town because it's Harlem, New York. I mean, it works down in Manhattan, lower Manhattan, but not here, or in Machias, Maine, or Hayes, Kansas, but not here. And Gary, I have this dream. My family's from Tanzania in Africa. And my dad was, I have a long line of physicians and doctors. My husband's a psychiatrist at Columbia. And we want to bring health to Tanzania. We want to build this facility there. And we want to mobilize the community, and we really want to do that. But I have this beast over here. How do I do that? I go, what do you want? She goes, I need 2 months off every year to do that. And we're like, done. You can create anything you want, anything. You just have to know and say it. And that's why it's important in the goal setting piece to take it to somebody that can help you build it. That's really important. And, I can't make any more money without working any more hours. That's a belief. And by the way, these are all myths. They're real to you, or Donna in this case, but they're myths because you they seem so far away only because you don't know anybody around you doing it. By the way, we only hang out with people that make 20% more than us and 20% less than us, weigh 20% more than us and weigh 20% less than us. Why? Because you're not in those dialogues because they're designed to keep you comfortable. Because once you try to reach out and do something like Donna's doing, there's new conversations that raise a mirror up for the people around you that scares the poo-poo out of them. And so, what happens is to have quantum leaps, you have to plug into somebody that sees the possibility, that has done it before, and can walk you down a path to get you there. By the way, I love this picture. This is Siddiqui and Yonga, her husband, and we play for families. The reason why I'm so grateful Curtis reached out to me and asked me to do this, a balanced life, and that creates a thriving practice. Because when you say what you want, you start creating money for things. My son Rome and Siddiqui had learning challenges, cognitive, differences in terms of how they learned. And now he's a beautiful young man. He worked in the practice. Now he's graduating college, and he's totally succeeding, just like my son. And I'm humbly brought to my knees that in life, it's not what you're dealt with, it's what you do with the circumstances. And so when the purpose is high enough, you can cause and create anything. And it starts with you saying, I want a better balanced life. And then you use your business to fulfill on that. Most people I find try to work on their business. We're dentists and not trained as business owners. They don't know how to get their team on board. They don't have a chassis that can deliver them the type of practice they want. And they spend their entire life actually trying to create that. And it's, like we're doing on this webinar, flipping it on its head. So just to show you, this is a text that I got from her, that this is the documentary that I filmed, and they showed it in Tanzania, and they built it. So they had t-shirts made. They built with 400 people, and they got donations. And now they have a hospital. They have a dental school, thanks to Henry Schein. They are, all the equipment was shipped from generous dentists like you. And now they have a whole facility where they're training people on complete health dentistry, just like I'm giving you. The same training you guys are getting, they are getting in Tanzania for dentistry, and also now bringing in medicine in a brand new way, and bringing medicine and dentistry together for the greater good of this community. It's really an extraordinary game. So your goals, when you create them, they need to be specific, measurable, with by whens. So I invite you right now to take out a piece of paper and write down by 12/31/21, when I'm kissing my spouse and we're celebrating New Year's Eve, we would have collected $1 million with a 65% overhead. I'm going to work Monday through Thursday, 8 to 4, and I'm going to take 6 weeks off, and I'm going to have a team aligned and trained on the care system, which is case acceptance, retention, and the experience of a new patient. There's only 3 systems to build your practice. So all those other systems are really tactics and just things that need to be done. But there's 3 key systems. How do you close cases? How do you retain your patients? And how do you onboard new patients? That's it. So really taking the complexity out of dentistry and making it really simple. So you have to have those 3 outcomes. Now a coach can work with you. A coach can work with you now because it's not the coach imparting what they want for you. You told them what they want. Now they're going to help you build the framework to get there. And the second thing you need to do is understand your practice. So first thing is you have to practice with a purpose. So one of the key elements is you have to turn this piece of machinery into a meaningful purpose that it's the umbrella that everything gets built from. It's the context that holds it together, the container. And Donna said, on a good day, we're going to save smiles. On a great day, we're going to save a life. She happens to implement the system that I built, which is the complete health model, which is the mouth and the body are connected. And there's a whole educational process that does that. There's ghostwritten books. You'll see her ghostwritten book here that gives her credibility. There's medical, reading the medical history form. It's tying it to what the mouth is and how it affects the whole body. And it really affects the value creation in the mind of the patient. Now they understand not just the value of the impact on the mouth, but the impact on the body. And she chose to implement that system. So this is where the problem gets, this is where it gets funky, where the team's not fully on board. So this is understanding your practice. This is a story about 4 team members named everybody, somebody, anybody and nobody. If there was an important job to be done, everybody was asked to do it, and everybody was sure somebody would do it. And anybody could have done it, but nobody did it. Somebody got angry about that because it was everybody's job, and everybody thought that anybody could do it. You see, it ended up that everybody blamed somebody, and when nobody did what anybody could have done. So it's who's responsible for that? He or she is. And so when you do that, especially at the front desk, if you don't have somebody dedicated to time and somebody dedicated to money, and everybody's accountable for everything, that's the key for drive. That's the key driver. A lot of practices have only one person because they think they can't afford that person. But you're going to see here how you can afford not to have at least 2 people, even in the smallest practices, because you can't possibly answer the phone and close a $5,000 case. It just doesn't happen. So that's why you stay on the treadmill and stay stuck. That's just one of them. But let me unpack this a little bit for you. I want you to think about moving from, most doctors say they need new patients and they wish they had a better team. I'm going to give you a new way to look at that. Now that you know you don't need new patients, you need to fix the retention and case acceptance. Number one, that's paradigm shift number one. Now, paradigm shift number 2 is most people think it's, I need a better team. No, you just need a team that understands the game being played, and you got to change the game board. See, most people are trying to move the pieces of the puzzle. That's why you're the octopus. But when you choose the game board, you can tell the pieces how to move. And that's what I'm going to show you how to do right now. You have to move your team from being busy to being outcome based. And those outcomes need to be based upon what the revenue that you want to do, that we just created, the 1 million at 65% overhead, with your taking 6 weeks off, working 4 days. That needs to get mapped out over the team on a daily basis. So how do we do that? So let's just say your collection goal, and this was Donna's, she wanted to collect 2 million, and you write off 10%. You have to produce 10% more, pretty easy. And by the way, I'm going to show you in Dental Intel. This is what makes Dental Intel incredibly valuable and automates, so you don't have to pull reports. Now, 10 weeks off for Donna. She was taking 2. We gave her another 8. 168 days she's working. Number of hygiene days is 336. Now, all of a sudden, you reverse engineer this. So the first thing is, we like to see our hygienist doing $1,500 a day. And now you're sitting there with low PPO fees. It's okay, because more of the advanced perio, this is one area that is really untapped and just totally underutilized. And when you can get your hygiene into the $1,500 range, everything becomes magic, because when the patient comes in the hygiene, they understand the value. And then that's also where the treatment plans come out of in the recare visits. So let's say you're doing 336 days times 1,500, that's 504,000. That leaves, when you subtract that from the production that the doctor needs to do, it leaves a 1,600 or 1.6 million bucks in doctor revenue. And if you take 168 days, see how I'm uncollapsing and bringing in time and money, and I do it in an algorithm that allows you to have the time off. Because here's what happens. It's called Parkinson's law. If you have ever seen this, have you ever seen that your expenses rise to meet new levels of income? You're making more money, but you have none to show for it. Do you ever notice that, whatever the deadline is, you fill time to meet the deadline? If you don't think that's true, take a look at on Sundays when your iPhone reports how much time you spent on your phone. I can find hours for you if you choose it, but it's, again, we're distracted, we're numbing ourselves out, we're all over, and then we complain we have no time or money, but we don't have a plan to get out of that, and then we end up not retiring in the top 4% and having to move from 62 to 69. You see how it trickles down from your decisions you're making now. This is the chassis that we're building it on. And then most people don't look at this, and this is why the Dental Intel conversion, the restorative case acceptance tracker, is so important. If you're working, let's say, 20 days, and you need to present 15,000 a day. If you're not presenting 300,000, there's no possible way you can do the 10,000 a day in revenue. It just doesn't work. And so, we take the amount the doctor needs to do per day, we multiply that times a conversion rate of 2/3. When you have a good case acceptance system, you should be closing 2/3 of your cases, right? Your total revenue in cases. So that means you have to present more than what you need in your schedule. And here's the other thing. This gives you peace of mind, and you can take the 10 weeks off, because what you close, let's say in March, shows up in April on your schedule. That's how you can take 2 weeks off in April. So because you can do it inside of the 2 weeks, or 2.5 weeks, you can still do the same revenue because it's in your schedule, right? And then so now your team is going to move from being busy to being outcome based. That the hygiene daily primary outcome, or DPO, is 1,500, the doctor is 10,000, and then the treatment coordinator needs to present 15,000 a day to get 10,000 accepted. This gets mapped out over the entire team. So the DOFI, we rename the team members because that changes how they behave. So instead of a front desk person, it's a piece of furniture. We have DOFIs, which are directors of first impressions. They create experiences. And what they're doing is managing the schedule of the doctor and the hygiene. They are now outcome based, 10,000 and 1,500 at the end of each day. So as long as they get those outcomes, they're going to get a dollar amount per column per day. It's a bonus on the individual on what they can cause and create. Now you have a control point, because if they're not getting their bonus, they're going to raise their hand and say, I'm not getting my bonus, because now they have the same skin in the game as you do as a practitioner. Correlate with where you want to land your plane at the end of the year. You see how you have controls in place, and this is a chassis that allows you to really own it. And, we have an app, with Dental Intel, that we can track everything on your smartphone, and you could be at the beach or in Tanzania tracking all your measures and making sure you have peace of mind. And so we bonus everything. The financial freedom fighter is fighting for the financial freedom of the patient, not taking money from them. Our dental ninjas are, no, I'm not just an assistant. Yeah, they're bigger than turning rooms and making patients feel comfortable. They're looking inside of incomplete treatment plans and helping the doctor and helping the patient, because they're the most trusted person, stay for that day. And same day dentistry, it changes behaviors. It gets your team on the board playing the same game. I call it taking your team off the football field, putting them on the golf course. And now the way you win the game is the least amount of strokes, not scoring touchdowns. So you had two people playing two different playing fields. Now you got them all on one. And hygienists is, if we have people tooth polishing or gum gardening, we want hygienists that get up to $1,500 a day ethically, by educating the patient on the mouth-body connection and its impact on their overall health. So, we have a training system. This is ours. You'll have, other, training, but you want to really automate your training. You don't want to sit there and have to figure all this stuff out. You want to have like somebody that can give you a platform that just automates the training and gets stuff done for you, because you don't have the time or energy to do that. So, but when you have the systematic process that ties to your dental intel, that gives you the number that says this person needs training, and then here's the training, that is an automated training system and an automated practice management system. And that's really where in 2021 you want to be looking at. Now, here's my dental intel. In July, I used July 2017 for Donna. This is Donna's numbers, July in 2017 doing 72,000. Now look at this. Here's the production. This is the production window. She's doubled her practice. Okay. By the way, when you double your practice in production, your profit is a lot higher, because if your fixed costs are the same, so the variable cost, there's a lot more profit in that second rung of income. Your reappointments, this is key. Leaving the patient leave, we like to see it at 90%. She was almost half of what it needed to be. So half of our patients, by the way, if they're not pre-appointed out of hygiene, it takes 10 times the energy to get them back in, because there's no integrity at stake for the patient. That's why 90% need to leave. And then post-pandemic, we got her at 73. We're still not where we want to be, but you can see the revenue numbers, how it stacks, right? So case acceptance, and then and our retention. That's where we go first. That's where you want to go first. Now let's strengthen your team. So again, now you have this thing where you got to put the game board in because you don't want to tell people what to do because they forget. This is so important. Most doctors and team leaders are speaking in and enabling people. And enabling is you're more committed to them for their results, their relationship, their health, their outcomes than they themselves. You know what I'm talking about. You're pulling people up the mountain. Empowering is you're committed to the person's commitment for their own life. Meaning, here's what the agreement is to your outcome. Do you agree? Dofi, director of first impressions, your outcome is 1,500 and 10,000 a day. Do you agree to that? See, if you don't get them to play on a golf course, what happens is that 90%, 75 to 90% in a dental office are humanist, methodical personas. That means that they avoid under pressure and they acquiesce under pressure. They say yes and mean no. And then they avoid and they hope when you institute something new, it goes away and you forget about it. With this model that I'm giving you, it's going to have framework that you're going to use the Dental Intel morning huddle with their measures, and they're going to be tied to the chassis and the measures. There's no hiding here. It's like you're not half pregnant. You either did your number or didn't, and if you didn't, it's going to be on a scoreboard. And so for those doctors right now that are averse to having scoreboards up and numbers, this is the scoreboard for how healthy you're getting your patients. I know sometimes our humanist doctors like me are numbers adverse, and they're numbers adverse because numbers immediately equate to I have to sell something, or I'm bad if I don't hit my numbers. And I know this happens a lot when Dental Intel is introduced to your team. So you have to really set up the listening for how to receive it. And you got to put skin in the game for the team that you're looking at the same numbers for the same reason. And so how do you get your team that may not really fully be on board? How do you get them on board? Well, we have a system for that. It's called the line in the sand system. And I'm going to give that to you right now. You have a meeting, you have it in a very non-traditional place. Like when you go over somebody's house, like dad sits here, mom sits here, the kid sits here. You got to interrupt all that and do it in your backyard, or go to, a back room and in a nice restaurant. And you say, look, team, I want to acknowledge you for all the things that you've done. You've been loyal. I'm really grateful for what you've done. I'm taking a new level of responsibility on for leading us forward. I know, and this is where you tell yourself, I know I haven't done a good job at providing goals for you. I know I haven't done a good job at teaching you how to get those goals and giving you training. I know that a lot of you want to make more money, and I want to create a bonus system for you, a win-win-win bonus system. It's really fantastic. And I know some of you don't think that I care because I show up late to morning huddles. And so I want you to know I'm taking full responsibility. I need your help. I can't do it alone. What got us here is not going to get us where we're going. So that's the line in the sand moment. Then you're going to say, I'm asking you to join me. And what I'm asking you to join me in, again, this is their invitation to move from football field to golf course. I'm asking you to join me in approaching our work in a new way, because we can't continue to go the way we're going because we've been doing the same thing forever and we're looking to get a new result. So, and if you're bringing somebody in from the outside, let's say a coach or something, I'm bringing in somebody who I vetted, I really understand, I read, I know about, and is proven in the world of the work we're going to do. I needed to get help because I'm a dentist. I'm not a strategist. I'm not a systems analyst. I don't know how to put analytics in a certain way. A lot of the things in today's world I don't know how to do. And I got out of dental school 10, 15 years ago, and now there's so many more advancements that I can't keep up with it. So I'm gonna get help for us, and they're gonna take care of you. The philosophy is they take care of you, they take care of me, and they take care of the patients and everything that we do. Are you on the bus? Now you get agreement. Are you on the bus? Leslie, Betsy's like, oh, yeah, I'm on the bus. So it doesn't matter if like they're really on the bus or not, because now they're being called forth. And if they give you an agreement, we operate by agreement. Who's going to do it? What are you going to do? By when you're going to get it done? When you operate by agreement, they give their word to the new game. And now all of a sudden, you're not going to be bumping into saying, well, this is how we did it in the past, or, all the past. This is the first day of the rest of your career. And then you say, what do you need from me? Well, I need you to show up on time. Got it. We need new, blah, blah, blah. We need new intro all cameras. Got it. Done. Whatever. But they're going to tell you what you need. And then you write it all down. And then you get a plan to get that in. And this is your leadership. And I'm going to make leadership simple. You go first. If you have a poo-poo attitude like I did, I used to come to work dreading work in my own. I used to hate coming to work in my own business. Please make that unacceptable. If you're living in that, don't make that acceptable. I made it unacceptable. And I had to get straight about a few things. I had to make changes. See, pain is necessary. Suffering's optional. Pain tells you it's time to change, young man or young lady. Suffering is you have a problem, you're resisting the change, and that's suffering. And then it puts you in a bad mood. So this is like my manifesto, and I want to give it to you right now. I've come to the frightening conclusion that I am the decisive element. It is my personal approach that creates the climate. It is my daily mood that makes the weather. I possess tremendous power to make life miserable or joyous. I can be a tool of torture or an instrument of inspiration. I can humiliate, humor, hurt, or heal. In all situations, it is my response that decides whether a crisis is escalated or de-escalated, and whether a person is humanized or dehumanized. If we treat people as they are, we make them worse. If we treat people as they ought to be, we help them become who they are capable of being. This is the doctrine, the easiest doctrine that I've found around leadership. So there's 4 different leadership styles: competitive, humanist, methodical, and spontaneous. Just identify where you are. Competitives, I'm going to just stereotype this, and you might have some balance in between. Competitives want to play the game. They want to win the game. They're always 10 steps ahead of everybody. They're always, they win the marathon and they're running a triathlon. It's never enough. That I'm a humanist competitive. I live in the disease of never enough. I don't give a lot of details. So I leave methodicals dead behind me because they're left to figure it out on their self, and that's their biggest concern. The humanist is a caring, loving soul that wants to make a difference, that gives to charities, that gives away dentistry for free, sometimes too much. They really care deeply about people. And that, by the way, none of these are good or bad or right or wrong. It's just how you lead. And there needs to be a balance here, because if you're too competitive, you're leaving people dead around you, and they're usually a big turnover and they're pissed. Usually I pick up something like that if it's too far swung on the competitive side. Too far humanist, no clear direction, afraid to ask for money, high accounts receivable, giving away dentistry for free. Again, these are all extreme cases, right? Methodical, analysis paralysis, afraid to expand, doesn't want to make a mistake, outstanding dentist, business person, that's where they need their help. And then a spontaneous, is like squirrel, 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 squirrel. Can't keep their attention too long. They don't want to, have too much of a burden. They want to have fun. But too much of that doesn't allow for enough structure in the practice. So again, no judgment on these, not good, bad, right, wrong. Take the free Myers-Briggs test and it'll tell you which leadership style you are. So one of the things that we talked about is renaming your each position. So front desk people, they're pieces of furniture, they become pieces of furniture. When they're dofies, they're directors of first impressions, change their approach. Dental assistants and ninja, no, I'm not just assistant, I matter. Usually the feeling like the low woman on the totem pole, unless they're an EFTA. But we really want to rise them up and really empower them because they're trusted by the patient big time. And they have the time and space to really educate. Hygienist to hygienist, really going from gum gardener, tooth polisher to whole body health practitioner, money gal, worrying about taking money from people, to being a stand for the patient to get all their health and pay on time and pay in full and maximize insurance. And then we have dentists that move to complete health doctors, really doctor of the head and neck, really looking at, how, they treat a patient. You're not just looking for symptomatic issues where you're trained to find the chief complaint and fix it. And here's what that creates. You're asking the patient, is anything hurting, anything bothering you? And that just kills off 90% of dentistry that's asymptomatic. And you've actually trained them to say, if it doesn't hurt, there's not a problem. And I just came in here to get my teeth cleaned. Do whatever my insurance is really saying, you haven't shown me the value of what you're asking me to invest in, because I don't see how my life's going to be better because of it. And do whatever insurance covers, because it's no skin off my back. I don't pay anything for it. So just only do what my insurance covers. That's what they're really saying when they say, do whatever my insurance covers. So now you got to make a plan. All right. So I love this by George Patton. A good plan well executed today is better than a perfect plan executed in some indefinite point in the future. And I'm calling forth my perfectionists. Now, to do dentistry, you have to be a perfectionist. So I've never heard of a dentist who says, man, I'm really sloppy. I am not a perfectionist. You can't work in microns and not be a perfectionist. But here's the problem. As a dentist, that works great. When you have to take that hat off and be a business owner and you're being a perfectionist, or you're mapping out how your team, because your team's not going to do it the way you do it, you're going to end up pissed off and frustrated. It's just how, or you're going to be stuck because you're trying to have the perfect plan or the perfect team. Oh, I could do this when I have a perfect team. Then I'm going to be able to do this. You know, it's the someday when's, maybe never. I used to say someday when I get skinny, then I'm going to meet a cute girl. Then we're going to get married. Then we're going to have kids. And then we're going to live happily ever after. The someday wins. Like, I still have, you know, a 2-pack. I want a Tupac. I call it my Tupac for sure. The belly here. No, I mean, I work hard at it, but it's not a 6-pack, but that's what's perfect for me, right? I want an Olympic athlete's body, but I'm not an Olympic athlete. You know, a lot of doctors, until they raise their hand and surrender, they're trying to get it perfect before they bring in I'll give you one more example. My wife, I go, honey, you work so hard. I want to get you a maid service. And you know what she's doing the day before the maid comes in? She's cleaning the house. I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, it has to look perfect for them to come. So I love that example. She now doesn't, you know, spruce the house up before the service comes in. But it's like, let go of being perfect and just dive in and go. I want you to get, as it relates to numbers, and, you know, since we're, you know, this is a partnership with Dental Intel, here's the 4 levels of relationship to numbers, because in your plan, if you're in one of these 4 places, this is where I want you to really have a breakthrough. And so you might be like, okay, you really want to have more money and you want to have a balanced lifestyle. You're on this webinar, so you want, you know, a balanced life that leads to a thriving practice, because it creates the thriving practice, because you said, I'm going to work this amount of time and this amount of money, and I showed you how to do that. But if you don't get this part, you're not going to get the implementation piece. So this is key. So I'll give you an example. I complain about my weight, but I haven't looked at a scale in forever. So that's like, you're running a practice and you haven't looked at your dental intel. You don't look at it every day obsessively, you know, throughout the day. You don't have it on desktops everywhere, you know, or you don't look at your P&L. You could be looking at your dental intel, and that's going to get your top line up, but it's not going to get your bottom line fixed. You got to look at your P&Ls. So if you don't look at your P&Ls, there's no like facts. So that's called denial. Committee is, you're talking about it. I wish I made more money, and the pandemic, you know, and all the guys at my study club are all down. And again, you're in the dialogue of keeping and perpetuating the suffering. And we're just saying, no, that's unacceptable. But the committee is, you're having dialogue with your wife, or complaining to your wife or your spouse, your husband. Do not complain to them, because they can't do anything about it usually. And all they do is they sit there and they get scared. And so talk to somebody that can do something about it. See, when you're a committee, you're just having a bunch of dialogue with a bunch of people that can't really do anything about it. Start talking to people that are experts in doing what you want them to do. And all of a sudden you're going to be like, you're going to get there. I never would have quit alcohol with an alcoholic thinking mind. You can't unthink alcoholism with an alcoholic thinking mind. I have an alcoholic thinking mind because I want relief. I want to be happy all the time. And I don't want to deal with problems. I want to shove them under the rug. And so alcohol was a good solution until it wasn't. And somebody had to teach me how to deal with life, the root causes, right? So I stopped talking to people and complaining. And then I talked to somebody who is sober and I followed the system and it works. Now, the next thing is knowing, all right, now you know, all right, I'm looking at my dental intel, I'm looking at my P&Ls, Gary, and I still am not making any money. Well, you know what's different? You need to move from knowing your numbers, because I know I have a lot of guys who really know their numbers and gals. Awesome. They can like spit out everything, but they don't own them. Meaning owning is knowing them and then being at cause in the matter. So what that looks like is, you're working with a coach on how to reduce your expenses, increase your top line, get the most out of your team. Or if you're wanting to lose weight, let's use weight. I have a trainer 3 days a week. I go spinning 2 days a week. I have a nutritionist that's helping me with my diet. That's what it takes me, because my default, I eat mayonnaise sandwiches because I love mayonnaise, BLTs, lots of mayonnaise. And I love Krispy Kremes. Those are my defaults. But I'm not going to be healthy and around for my son forever if I don't change that and interrupt that. And if I don't pay somebody to show up, I'm not working out 5 days a week, just not doing it. And so that's called truly owning and causing. And that's what's needed. You got to get this is your biggest asset. This is your life. This is mom and dad giving their kids back, giving their kids their mom and dad back. That's how serious this is. Even if you're not going to do it for yourself, do it for your kids, and then you'll start doing it for yourself, because we usually take care of ourselves last, and that's not acceptable. In this book, this book is underneath it all. My second book, my first book was $1 Million Dentistry. This book is Raise Your Healthy Deserve Level. And what I realized was, because I too, everything that I share with you, I use myself in my own business and take care of, myself in life and in practice. I didn't think I deserved to have time off, 12 weeks off. I didn't think I deserved working Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and having Monday and Friday off. I didn't think I deserved to make the numbers and the zeros. I had to teach myself that, because in life, you don't get what you deserve. You get what you think you deserve. And it's totally learnable. Learnable. I'll go with it. You just have to be mindful that you self-sabotage. And if you're in the world of, and understand that we as human beings kill off time and money, that's why we don't have it. You stop it at its source. And, it's part of the process of growing. So here's your action items. Take the practice quiz, see what your capacity is. It's going to show you how much you're leaving on the table that you have right now, that you don't have to spend $1 more going after it. It's already right there. So that becomes your plan. Now, if that quiz says you need to go out and get new patients or market new patients, then do that. There's great people that I recommend highly that just build systems and get you new patients on a drip campaign. We have a partnership with the best in the world in terms of what I find in marketing. We use ourselves. My Story brand is unbelievable it's a great book, Story brand. And we have partnership with them that is specific to dentistry. So if you need marketing, we'll give you marketing, but mainly you need inside. So you need inside. So we're going to give you a free discovery call. We're going to, get access to your dental intel. We're going to really look at your true revenue potential. We're going to help you with your goal setting. We'll have a dialogue with all this. You'll be able to, if you take a picture here, you'll be able to just go right on and link and go to our Calendly and get on the schedule. Here's what I'm going to do with people that come from Dental Intel, because you see the Discovery DI. Because you're a Dental Intel customer, I'm going to take 20 people over the next 30 days. So I'll do 20 people. You'll get on the phone with me, quick discovery call, half hour max, usually quicker. We'll have a lot of fun. And we'll get on the call and we'll really go through what I talked about today. And if you want to call, if you're a phone number person, or if you want to call my colleague who does my schedule, Joanna, will get you right in. And I love one of my biggest things is really educating people and opening people's eyes. And hopefully that happened today for you, that you don't have to continue with the problem and resisting the problem, which equals suffering. And you can really live a balanced life, because You deserve it. Your kids deserve it. Your family, your team, all that. Like, you don't have to work through lunches anymore. You don't have to, put the nose to the grindstone. You can actually leverage the asset that you work so hard to build and actually leverage it and push a couple of levers and get where you need to be. And you're a Dental Intel subscriber. And if you're a subscriber, if you haven't subscribed yet, you want to do that ASAP. It's fantastic. And we can help you get that too. If you want to just call us and we'll get you set up. We'll get a snapshot set up for you. We'll just plug in. It's no cost. We'll plug into your Dentrix Eagle Soft or Open Dental. And we'll just, I'll review it with you. We'll be able to pull it up and go through the whole thing. So that's what the discovery call is. So I want to leave you with this. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens could ever change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. So you get to change your world first, and then you can go out and change the world of your team and your patients and your communities. So I'm looking forward. I hope I have the privilege. Like I said, we're going to do 20 with me. And then after that, um, I have great coaches. They're certified. They're unbelievable. But April is like my month to really crank out and make a difference. So no charge discovery calls with me for the month of April, and as a gift of myself and Dental Intel. So look forward to seeing you on our Zoom calls and our discovery calls. And again, thank you for the privilege of introducing this work for you to have a balanced life to a thriving practice.